Okay, guys. Hey, Mary Z here again with Voice Hacks by Mary Z. I am trying to do this live stream for you folks, and I hope that you can hear me now and everything's going good. Okay, so today on a Sunday, I've been chilling and I've been I've been going crazy answering one of these questions that you guys keep asking me over and over. And now I'm getting quite a few subscribers, so I'm really pleased with that. I'm really happy. Thank you guys for following me. Um, but let's go over something vocal fry versus fry screaming versus singing with grit or rasp. Big, huge questions. People think that they're all the same thing. But let's go through it and talk about the different terms and why they're different, slightly different things. I mean, everything with the voice is related. I already know that there's going to be trolls that are like, actually, this, I see you out there. Okay, I know. But everything is related. So technically, we're just separating things for clarity so that we can establish in our mind really clear sets of sounds so that our brain can go for specific sounds. We really want to have really big clarity to make these things easy to learn. So just to preface, most vocal coaches do not teach screaming and don't know anything about how this works, right? And they don't understand distortion. And I know this. I mean, I took classical lessons and non-classical, and most people, even if they say that, even if they're a modern vocal teacher, Broadway or something like that, they're not going to understand distortion. It's still a relatively new thing, and very few people have coached on it, and very few people have studied it, And I'm fortunate enough that my music career as a singer has forced me to do that and teach other people how to do that. So one thing is that we have to realize is when most people say vocal fry, that means something that has nothing to do with screaming. So we hear a lot about it because it's sort of a trendy way to talk. So vocal fry is like, hi, oh my God, like that kind of talking. I think there's maybe some of you do this, I don't know. But this kind of speaking is in that kind of singing. So if you were like, hey, it's actually really hard to sing like that. It's really hard to do what is technically called vocal fry and sing at the same time, which is why we're going to have to think of it as singing with grit or rasp. So when we vocal fry, we really wouldn't have much of a chance to sing like that. Hi, hi. I can't really sing like that. I sound like a goat. I'm trying really hard, but I can't. It's more like, oh, yeah. You are bringing the vocal cords together. And I do use a vocal fry technique in my fry screaming part 2 video to show you guys how to bring the chords together. This sound, that's technically vocal fry, right? So but as we drive that sound into distortion, we compress the chords more fully, and then that becomes pure fry screaming. So pure fry screaming, the vocal cords are tightly compressed all the way. When you're doing vocal fry, when you're speaking or you're doing that noise, yeah, that stuff, there's gaps in there where air is releasing, and that's why it has a popcorn sound. Like a popcorn bubble. So when we turn it into a fry scream, the vocal cords compress all the way, and then our distortion is really coming from the tiny passage between our vocal cords. We're just forcing air between our tightly compressed vocal cords when we fry scream, and then most of the distortion should be coming from the soft palate. So watch my video on the soft palate. It's called "What Should I Feel in My Throat While Screaming?" to understand where distortion comes from. But in fry screaming, the vocal cords are compressed all the way, and we are not speaking. So vocal fry sounds like oh my God, like that, ah. And then fry screaming sounds like this. like that. I'm just not warmed up. It doesn't sound that great. But you guys have seen my videos. I have, don't troll me on that, you guys. I just bust these things out. You know, I am good at what I do. You can see my bands on YouTube. I'm just not trying to make my channel all about me performing and shit, because you can go look that up. So basically, fry scream. Let me try one more time just to give you a good one. Yeah, that was pretty decent. So like that's what it is. So when I do that, my vocal cords are totally compressed and air is just coming right between them. And then my soft palate, I mostly feel the distortion back here in my soft palate. So that's the difference. That's obviously way different than this. Oh, okay. And yeah, they're related because again, they're both about vocal compression, and you can use one to find the other. But one thing is, when you are singing with grit or rasp, some vocal instructors call that vocal fry also. And just to clarify, that's not technically what most like from an anatomical term, it's not vocal fry, it's singing with distortion or yelling with distortion. So that's where you're singing with your vocal cords, and your vocal cords are undulating. They move like this when they come together, when you sing like la, and they're singing cleanly underneath all these other tissues. Again, watch my video on what should I feel in my throat when screaming, because I put some diagrams in there. And basically, you want the tissues in the epiglottal funnel right here to shake around, and you feel scratchiness because of air friction. But your actual vocal cords shouldn't be doing much. You should just be saying cleanly underneath with your vocal cords. So that's like, hey, yeah! You can hear there's clearly, yeah, underneath there, right? And I'm just putting the grit on top of it. Watch my video on singing with grit or rasp. So I would not call that vocal fry. So fry screaming is that big, crazy black metal scream, okay? You're thinking like, also it's a lot in hard rock and nu metal, Flyleaf, Maria Brink, and then also in this moment, Maria Brink, and then Wayne Static, Linkin Park. This is all fry screaming when they go into full fry, when they stop singing. I know someone's about to troll me. Someone's gonna go, actually, when they sing. No, I know that. That's singing with grit. So you and a lot of people do both. Oh, go figure. They can change styles, okay? So that's really what, let's see, what are these questions? Frog Leap Studios. I don't know Frog Leap Studios. I'm really sorry. So basically, like, oh yeah, so somebody said, I thought you just did the gravelly noise and raised it higher in volume. Yeah, so if you do this, the vocal fry noise, and then you try to make that louder, you're just going to end up vocal frying. You're just doing it so you can make that louder. It won't turn into fry screaming. You have to get these other tissues moving, which is admittedly pretty tough. I have a lot of videos on those things. Fry screaming takes the longest to learn, though, you guys. I mean, it's really advanced stuff. Work on like vocal compression exercises and have patience. It's like weightlifting. You're not going to go from 20 pounds to 100 pounds in 8 hours at the gym. But if you go on 8 hours, if you go 8 weeks at the gym, you'll get increased performance. So if you're having trouble learning the fry scream, just do like 15 to 20 minutes a day and stop. You know, don't try to get it. If you're not getting it that day, it won't happen. So what you're going to do is you want to do it over more days and spend less time on it. But you want to let that go. You want to when you're fry screaming, when you're trying to learn it, you want to let go a little bit of the vocal fry when you rise it up into the distortion. So in my video, I was like, I was kind of like letting it go as I bring it up. And eventually it gets like this. Yeah! Like that. Isn't singing with grit or rasp what Michael Jackson, James Brown, and Bruno Mars does? Yes, that is exactly it. So it comes from like old school blues, if you actually listen to like old fashioned blues. And so and then we evolved more into like the Little Richard kind of classic rock and roll, which is screaming with any kind of pitch. And it can be any pitch, whether it's a falsetto pitch, like a Prince or a singing with grit, like a James Hetfield, like yeah. But then you also have your Prince, like your falsetto, which goes up like uh, yeah, like those kind of things. It took me a minute to think about it, but that's also singing with grit. The distortion should be coming from those same tissues, but you should have your nice clean singing underneath. It shouldn't really be tight or strained at all. And it is not vocal fry. You need to be singing. Anytime you're doing a fry, your vocal cords are trying to like hold compressed almost. And like I was saying, I almost can't sing. So there's a ton of people who troll me and go, you can fry and sing at the same time. You can fry and sing at the same time. But it's really just semantics. It's just words. That's singing with grit or rasp. Yes, and you can do that. And of course, I know that. So I've got you trolls. I see you. I know that you can fry at the same time, but it's not. It's because other vocal instructors call distortion vocal fry, and I don't call it that. Just to make it clear. So it's singing with grit or rasp. So when somebody like Bruno Mars does rasp, it's just I would go through all this pain. I'm really over exaggerating the rasp there. He's not that raspy, but you can see that's singing with grit. That is not really mostly that's soft palate distortion. I feel that really up here. So you do have your false chords down here that sit above your vocal cords that do help to make some distortion. If your false chord's screaming, you'll feel them moving a lot. But really, that's it. So that's all I have to say today, guys. Vocal fry versus fry screaming versus singing with grit. Now you know what they are, and just be aware that most vocal instructors do not teach screaming, and probably when they say vocal fry, they mean singing with grit, or they mean the actual anatomical. That's more of a scientific term to call this vocal fry. And just don't talk like that. I know it's kind of trendy, but it sounds better. Actually doesn't really hurt your voice to talk like that, but it just doesn't bring any smoothness to your speaking voice. It's like, So anyway, thanks guys very much, and that's all for today. I hope that this explains a question, and if I see you guys asking a question over and over and over, I'm getting a lot of activity these days, so it's getting harder for me to reply individually, so I'm going to try to make videos a little bit and try to answer some of your questions that way. Okay, thank you very much for following me, and keep asking your questions, and I will try to keep answering them. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.